Welcome back to everyone that's tuned in to the American Ultra Stock channel. Thank you so much for being here. As always, it's a Monday when you guys click on this video, and we're bringing to you guys a stock watch. Again, those videos where we review the players whose stocks went up or down based on their performances over the weekend and the week as well. We had some midweek action for a lot of the guys. Straight to the point, Braden, the first one that caught your eye, and was it a stock up? Was it a stock down? Who is it?
Yeah, so for this one, I'm going to beat any allegations that are out there, and I'm going to pick Tim Weah for stock up because he had a good performance midweek, getting a goal and an assist against Parma. The assist was to McKennie as well, so that was a very cool moment. Could have easily picked McKennie as well. He did also start midweek against Udinese. I thought he looked okay, nothing too great, but nothing too bad either. I'll be interested to see if he starts in the Champions League midweek. I'm guessing he probably won't. McKennie probably will, just due to what happened against Udinese. But regardless, I mean, he keeps performing in the starting lineup, and despite some of the injuries they've had, and I mean, some of the players coming back, he still has made himself a fixture in the team basically immediately after returning from injury. So I think that's a testament to how hard he's working on and off the pitch. He probably heard his dad not really mention him at the Ballon d'Or ceremony, and he probably took it personally, but it's good to see him performing. And it comes at a much needed time because we still have a lot of problems on the wing, a lot of them still out injured, Kevin Paredes being the main one that hopefully we can see back pretty soon. But for the national team, the fact that we were playing Musa there last camp, I think just shows the lack of depth. So having Weah back is going to be really welcome. I'm really looking forward to see how he can carry his form into the camp against Jamaica.
Yeah, and I thought he played well too, which is not just the stats, but also playing well, a little bit more progressive than he usually is. My first pick right here is going to be Jonathan Klinsmann. Obviously not too well known, I'll be honest. I didn't even watch this guy when he was in MLS, but he is in the league that I've watched the most in my life. I think it's always second division. So, but in Serie B for Cesena, doing so well there. He doesn't really get much playing time, but midweek he got a chance and looked all right, looked good. And then now this weekend kept a clean sheet, which was really impressive because he got to keep the starting spot. I didn't watch the press conference, but the post-match conference, just reading it, his manager highlighted how he played well, was really secure, coming off and claiming crosses. I thought he was doing well. I'll be honest, he's not the best with his feet from a couple of moments, but he just boots it off instead of trying to do something like Matt Turner and just looking silly doing it. So very simple, but it did really well and made one really good save to his right, a diving save that was actually really nice. So hey, we're so low on the goalkeepers. We don't have anyone. If this guy somehow finds himself playing Serie A top 5 league as a starter, honestly, why not give him a call up? I mean, judging by some of the names that were getting thrown around last time, why not give him a call? Still young for a goalkeeper as well. I think he's 26, so props to him. Definitely wasn't on my radar, but he's coming into prominence now, which is nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, and there's also the fact that Cesena are now 4th in Serie B despite being a newly promoted team. And even though he was a bench warmer for them all of last year, if he can continue to take his chances, I mean, maybe he enters the picture. I don't know. He's already 27, so the time is somewhat limited, but we know goalkeepers do mature later in their careers. So who knows? I mean, like you said, some of the names that are being thrown around, we might get to another one later in the video. Who knows? But for now, I'm going to go to my second pick. It's going to be a stock down, and it's going to be Josh Sargent. This one, unfortunately, is not really because of him, not anything that he did specifically, but he did get injured before their game this past weekend. Apparently it's a groin injury, and he's going to be out past the international break, and it could even require surgery, which is really not good because that means he'd be out for an extended period of time. It's just not an opportune time because Balogun's still out injured. He's returning to training a little bit in limited moments, but he's obviously not going to be back ready, at least we assume, for the camp. So Sargent potentially could have had another chance, but now it's confirmed that he's going to lose that chance. And once Balogun comes back, I don't know if he's going to get another chance for a while, unless something, hopefully it doesn't happen, but unless something happens to Balogun again, or Pepe, maybe even Vasquez has overtaken him now, it's just not a great moment for Sargent to get injured, probably the worst possible time, especially since he is actually in good form for Norwich this season, and that could be a huge hit not only to him, but also their season, their promotion hopes. So overall, it's just not a good moment to get injured. It really sucks for the guy, but it's going to have to be a stock down.
Yeah, I mean, and he didn't capitalize on his chances, and it seems like the story of his career. I mean, I wish him the very best of recoveries, but the guy can't stay fit. Some people just don't have the bodies to keep up with the professional sport. I'm pretty sure he's a good player, but best of luck to him getting back to match fitness and sharpness. And moving on right here to my stock down, it's going to be a guy that also didn't really take his chance last camp. It's going to be Malik Tillman. Tillman plays so well for PSV, and but then we always say that, hey, against the big teams, does he really do anything? In the Champions League, there were flashes here and there, but it's also very easy to find a game that he does bad whenever he plays against a big team. And this time, a very, I'll just say, horrible match against Ajax. Bad mistake that led to a goal. Just overall ridiculous, really, from a guy that I have so much hope, and I think that there's a lot of ceiling right there for him to be a player that can step in. I mean, the guy he's competing for a position can't stay fit for 2 months straight. So ideally, with the form that he was in, we all thought maybe he could be the new 10 in Poch system. But I mean, one of the few games where you can see the standards are a little bit higher in Eredivisie, and he does really bad, folded in that match. And yeah, I'm going to pick stock down for Malik Tillman there.
Yeah, one caveat I will give is that I don't know what the hell Peter Bosch was doing, putting him as a 6. It seemed to be the position he was playing. I mean, the 3 midfielders he picked are all attacking players. It's just not going to work, especially in a derby. But regardless, you can't criticize the manager when the player is playing that badly. So it just sucks to see. And it looks like we're going to be stuck with Brendan Aronson as our number 10 for the next camp. Tillman will probably still get called in, but I mean, he's not really doing anything to even warrant performances with his club now. And we know with the national team, he didn't either. So it just sucks to see. But on a more brighter note, for my third pick, I'm going to pick back to the stock ups. And it's going to be Nathaniel Brown, the dual national left back. Great week for him, getting his first start for Frankfurt midweek in the DFB Pokal, a 2-1 win over Gladbach and Joe Scally, who I believe also started that game. Continues to have his kind of anonymous form. Not good, not bad. It just seems to be the story of Scally at Gladbach. But back to Brown, also got his first Bundesliga start for Frankfurt after impressing in his what the coach called a baptism by fire, in other words, in the cup. And he impressed in that game, got a start. They ended up winning 7-2 against Bochum, and he actually scored his first Bundesliga goal as well. Just all around the perfect week for Nathaniel Brown. And I mean, if he continues performances like this, he's probably going to be on the Germany radar. He's already playing for their youth teams. And especially considering the backup left back options we have now, honestly, I think we have to make this guy one of our biggest priorities, especially since news is coming out now that Henry Chase might be in the next Japan squad. Kolyosho still seems to be committed to Italy for whatever reason. So Nathaniel Brown might be next up on the radar for our number 1 priority for dual nationals.
Yeah, and I mean, there is a spot there to be taken, really, because I'm going to pick, I feel bad saying this, I love the guy. He seems like such a nice guy, but Christopher Lund, our backup left back, is going to get a stock down. I think that it's fair to say now he is a bench player. He's a bench at Palermo. And Palermo, I've always thought they are a mess of a club, even when they were in Serie A a while back, an established club. Everything is just so messy there. Maybe it's a Sicilian thing, but it's crazy, really, how badly run the club is. And he's getting just a few minutes here and there, playing more as a winger when he comes on. It's just very confusing. I don't quite understand. They try to shift to a back 3 so he can play sort of as a winger. They play with 2 wingers when he's on, but some limited minutes there. Honestly, transitioning from a good season last year where he made the jump up to Serie B, which is a level that can propel you to bigger things. It's just sad to see that he's a bench now, and I think that there is a vacancy right there for a backup spot for Jedi. We can't really say that anybody claimed it, so fair to say if Brown was to commit for the USMNT, maybe he would be the next guy up.
Yeah, definitely. Now moving on to another stock down for me. It's going to be, I mean, you mentioned Jonathan Klinsmann with his feet maybe not being the best, but booting it out instead of making mistakes. Well, if you want to talk about making mistakes, Zach Steffen's going to be my pick for stock down. I'm sorry. I feel like I picked this guy more often. It's mainly just that we talk about him more often than he should, but it's not my fault that he continues to get call-ups for the USMNT, despite being, again, I'll keep saying it, one of the worst goalkeepers in MLS. If you guys just didn't see that mistake against LA Galaxy in the playoffs, go watch it. Absolutely amateur level stuff. Also conceded 9 goals over the 2 games in the first round. Thoroughly beaten by the Galaxy, the Rapids were. And I mean, honestly, I kind of feel bad for the Rapids because they were having a great season. Mihailovic got hurt at the wrong time. Bassett got hurt at the wrong time. They're two key players. And when you have Stefan in goal, I mean, this was a team that actually had ambitions. And maybe if they had a competent goalkeeper, they could have delivered on those. But it's just unfortunate to see. I really hope he's not in the camp. I hope, I mean, you never want to see players get hurt, but he ended up going home from the last camp due to a slight knock. I think I'm worried that maybe that means Poch didn't see enough of him and he'll invite him back. I'm hoping it means that Poch will say, okay, maybe this guy wasn't cut out for my training regimens, even as a goalkeeper, and he just won't come back, because I don't understand. There's like 10 better American goalkeepers within MLS alone, so it just doesn't make sense how he's still on the radar.
Yeah, I don't think he ever gets the Rapids more than they deserve, and that's what a goalkeeper typically has to do if he is a top keeper. So yeah, hopefully Poch watched that game and he says, yeah, never mind, and he can move on to the next one in line. For me now, it's going to be a stock up for Tolkien. I mentioned left backs. I never really watched MLS, so only when it gets to the playoffs, and I thought, wow, this guy, at least for this level in MLS, I think he really stands out. I think that he is one guy that needs to get a move in January already. Don't wait until midsummer. I know that there was some talks, some rumors of clubs wanting him during the summer. He did well at the Olympics. I think he's a guy that can easily step up out of MLS and have a career in Europe. I don't know what his ceiling really is. That's a very limited sample for us to see. Some concerns on the defensive side, but he is a good player, and I think that he's a guy that can definitely challenge Loon for that backup spot. And played really well. I was just really impressed with the way that he played. Never really mentioned many MLS players, but in honor of being an American channel, I'll throw out an MLS player here that I actually got to watch. So props to Tolkien. He was my pick. Now the last one that was on your radar, Braden.
Yeah, and I mean, Tolkien also just played a huge part in the Red Bulls upsetting the Columbus Crew, one of the best teams in MLS, in the first round of the playoffs, even keeping a clean sheet at Columbus. That's really tough to do. I mean, some of the most passionate fans within MLS, despite how cringy their chants are. So it's a really opportune time for him to go to Europe in the winter. I mean, there was a lot of interest in the summer. The Red Bulls, I was very critical of them for not letting him go, told them that they wouldn't accomplish anything. I still believe that, although fair play, you kind of proved me wrong by knocking off the Crew, but I still don't think they're going to win a cup, and ultimately it would have been better for him to leave. But it is what it is. Hopefully he moves in the winter. And on to my last pick. On a more positive note, we'll end it. I'm going to pick two players, actually. You see the jerseys behind me. I'm going to pick Brendan and Paxton Aronson because they both scored over the weekend and both had good performances as well. Both teams won by 3 goals. I mean, it was all around a perfect weekend for them. Brendan scoring also last weekend as well, continuing his good form, at least at the club level. Hopefully we can see it translate to the national team level because, I mean, I think it's pretty certain that he'll get called up against Jamaica. Paxton is another one that I'd love to see called up. I think you mentioned it actually in the last video we had. Maybe he even offers more than Brendan. I think he's a little bit more of a deeper lying player, more of an 8 rather than a 10, especially considering how tenacious he is, getting stuck into the duels and actually winning more of them, unlike what his brother does. But I think overall, just a great week for them, and seeing them both on the score sheet on the same weekend is pretty rare. So it's nice to see, at least for me.
Yeah, no, that's really fair. And I just watched the goals. I didn't really watch both of them. So I had some other stuff that I was watching, but props. It's really nice to see. I think both of them are doing well this season. I'm sure their family is really happy. I'm going to say my last pick right here. You already picked him, is Tim Weah, for those very same reasons. It was just because I thought that he had a good week, did well. He's doing better, and I thought that there was a moment that he was really down the pecking order. But moving on right here to our picks for the week, which is very interesting because it's when we say the players who we're going to be watching, keeping an eye out on, we always go with 2 players. For those of you that may be new to the channel, the ones that are already mainstream and everybody knows, and one that may be going under the radar. So who have you gotten for us to keep an eye out for this week, Braden?
Well, first, I'm going to give some shout-outs to academy players that I thought were really impressive, as I've been doing. First, I mean, he's always going to be mentioned. Matti Aber from Dortmund's U19 scored a brace despite only being 15 years old. I mean, every week I'll mention him. He's an incredible player. I think there's I mean, there's coaches, especially Schalke's. I mean, they're Dortmund's biggest rival, but their U19 coach, when they played against Dortmund, he said that Albert would probably be a Bundesliga player by next season, which is incredible praise, especially from a rival. And I mean, at such a young age. It is also mentioned that France and Germany, who he has citizenship for both of them as well, are also very interested in him. So it's going to be a battle to monitor. He's only been with the national team for the US so far. And I mean, he was born and raised in the US, only just moved to Germany to start at Dortmund, and because his family had other job offers there, but it's going to be one to watch for the coming years. Another one in Germany who has been with Germany's youth national teams, Alex Staff, scoring his first goal, becoming the youngest ever goal scorer in the Regional Liga, the fourth tier in Germany, with Eintracht Frankfurt's second team, only as a 16-year-old. It's incredible to see some of our young players over there in Germany performing. And I'll give a shout out to Frankie Westfield as well, USA U20 international as a fullback, and played both sides, scored a banger for Philadelphia Union 2 in a 4-0 win in the MLS Next Pro Eastern Conference Final. The final's coming up next week. Don't miss it. Some of the top talent up and coming is going to be playing for both sides, so that's definitely one to keep an eye on next weekend. And now on to the picks for the coming week to watch. I'll start with the sleeper pick, and honestly, I'll admit it's a player who I wanted to give a stock up, but there just wasn't room. I'm going to pick Haji Wright. Maybe he's not much of a sleeper because he's a national team regular, but he never seems to start, even when maybe his performances warrant more minutes. Got an assist in limited time against Panama in the last camp, and just got a goal and assist over the weekend for Coventry City and a much-needed 3-0 win. He's finally picking up his form. It's kind of the same as last season, actually. He started slow. We had some criticisms for him. He was stocked down a couple of times, but then he started to pick it up and never looked back. We know how good his form was last year, and it looks to be the same now. He's finally getting into the rhythm, getting goals, getting assists, really contributing for Coventry, who, I mean, even back before they had Haji, always have this weird thing where they start the season slow and kind of get into rhythm, and in the season is one of the best teams in the league. But hopefully he can play a little bit bigger of a role against Jamaica. Maybe he'll start one of the games. Who knows? And then for my main players to watch, I'm going to group up two because it's basically the same situation. I'm going to pick CCV and Austin Trusty. They're finally starting together now, which was the whole vision when Trusty did join Celtic over the summer. They have a midweek UCL match at home against RB Leipzig, who've lost all three of their games so far, surprisingly. So it's a huge chance to pick up points. Celtic do have 4 clean sheets in a row, including an impressive one in the Champions League against Atalanta a couple weeks ago. Trusty started in all 4 of those games. CCV's been back for the last 2, and both of those were this past week. They played really well as a duo. CCV even scored a goal as well in a 6-0 win this week in the Cup semifinal against Aberdeen. So they're both playing really well. It's going to be a big test, and who knows, maybe this is the future of our center back duo because Richards is hurt. McKenzie is very inconsistent, a lot better than some of our fans like to say. They're very critical of him. But I mean, we know our options are bad. I expect them both to be in the next camp, and we know they have chemistry together now, so maybe they'll get a start together.
I mean, if we're playing, if we were to always play against Guatemala, El Salvador, I'll be completely okay with that center back pairing because it's about the level that they see in their league. They're a very challenging league. But it's actually funny because I had CCV as my main player to watch for the same reason. I think, hey, it's one of the only now they have more games that are credible for us to watch. Good opportunity going up against a team that is still respectable, plays at a respectable level, but is definitely vulnerable. So I think Celtic can get a very rare win in the Champions League. Maybe, and I'll definitely keep an eye out for that game. I saw the CCV score, didn't see the match, but hey, I'm going to definitely tune into that one, see where their level is at. And if we were to play like the Jamaicas of the world as our toughest test, I'll be completely fine with those two. But we need someone to step up because realistically, I agree with you. It might be the pairing going forward. You never know. And for my player, that's the sleeper pick right here. It's going to be Griffin Yao. Finally back from injury. Got the start at his first start of the season this week, and I'm going to tune in to see how he does. So West Terlo's little fairy tale run was already down last month, but it's now I think they're back in where they should be, but where they're realistically their talent is. And I think he's going to have to be very important. It's nice that he already got the start. And I think that he's a guy that within the next year or two is definitely going to be rising to a better league. So I'll keep an eye out for him. He's very, very exciting to watch. But that wraps it up for this week's Stock Watch. Let us know in the comments below what you thought of it. Any players that you think we missed out on, any players that you think didn't impress you or should have been on this list, let us know. We'll make sure to respond to you guys. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you next time.